Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Air India board meets for the first time since the appointment of KM Birla and YC Deveshwar. Both the business leaders were appointed to the airline's board earlier this month to help shape its revival plan. Well, the top focus this evening, former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee's last rites are currently underway. His mortal remains have reached Smriti Sthal for the last rites. Thousands of people are accompanying the funeral procession alongside Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Bharatiya Janata Party President Amit Shah. Vajpayee will be cremated with full state honours. He was one of India's rare politicians to have a vast fan following in global politics. Several foreign leaders have travelled to India to pay their last respects to the former Prime Minister before he makes his final journey. This includes the King of Bhutan, former Afghanistan Prime Minister Hamid Karzai, foreign ministers of Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Nepal, as well as the Law Minister from Pakistan. Well, let's go across to CNN News 18 for the latest updates on what is transpiring in New Delhi.
Amount of time in public life, but just look at the who's who from Sumitra Mahajan, who's now coming up. I mean, a 7-8-time MP, from Madhya Pradesh, a state where Atal Bihari Vajpayee also made his first tentative steps, in a sense, before he burst on the national political scenario. Look at Shivraj Singh Chauhan. He was the chief of the Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha, till 2002, and he was plucked and immediately sent to Madhya Pradesh. Narendra Modi himself. Narendra Modi till 1998 was a BJP headquarter in charge here in the national capital. And then when the Bhuj earthquakes had happened sometime around 2001, he was sent as a replacement for the legendary, the Don of Gujarat, Keshubhai Patel at that point of time. So I think of leaders who were created by Atal Bihari Vajpayee and LK Advani, and I think of politicians who are being created now. Isn't there a world of difference that you see between them?
No, there is a world of difference, and there is a difference of the world. With the sense, I'm using the expression to show that the world has changed, the times have changed, and politics is where it throws up the kind of leaders. The situations brings up people, and of course, both Vajpayee ji and Advani ji had a way of spotting that political talent among their younger leaders. So if you see the galaxy of young leaders, and most of them are around, they are all below 60, barring the most senior ones. But this is the way the party, because it was a cadre-based party, and you have heard right from Vajpayee down to everyone saying that this is the only party where a cadre a person from the cadre can rise to these levels. So therefore, this is not a family-based system or a dynastic-based system where, the mother takes over, the son takes over from mother or daughter takes over from father. This is a different kind of political growing up a system where, so you see everyone out there.
Yeah, I think Narendra Modi is a great example of that. And we've been seeing that Prime Minister Modi has been really deeply moved by the demise of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Even yesterday, while he was speaking and he was offering his tributes to the former Prime Minister, one could make out that he was visibly shaken. He did describe him as his father, as someone who was like his father, described him as an individual who had helped him understand the intricacies of politics, of policy, of what is Rajniti and what is Deshniti, what is Rashtaniti. The fact of the matter is, I think that somewhere Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Advaita, will perhaps go down in history as the individual who maybe had more of an impact than LK Advani on the subconscious levels of the people who are all there. Anurag Thakur's father, former Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh, to Mr. Doval. And look at the international dignitaries. The Pakistani information minister is here, Hamid Karzai is there, and the entire galaxy of chief ministers from the entire country. Farooq Abdullah of the National Conference there as well. And then you have the who's who within the Bharatiya Janata Party, all the state chief ministers. Would it be fair to say that actually Atal Bihari Vajpayee, more than LK Advani in some ways, as we see more international dignitaries coming in, the King of Bhutan is also making his presence felt. It's, there's something unique, there's something vastly different about Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Can we really try and box him into some template, so to say?
No, you can't. And I think when you go through his life and his career, that moment in Ramlila Maidan, that after post-emergency, which really saw him emerge as this sort of national, pan-national emergency icon, where he said 3 lines of a poem, where basically there was so much chanting, and he responded to that chanting by saying that, let me breathe in this freedom. I do not know how long it will last. And I'm translating here. He obviously said it in Hindi. And post that, there was such frantic and euphoric sloganeering that he couldn't speak beyond three lines. It was a coming of age, a political coming of age, where, unlike, for the sort of political leaders of today, where they have had grooming, where they have had sort of, being built up because of the cadre system and the Karyakarta system of the BJP, during his era, he was part of the team that was actually building a base. So really, when he came up, it was by sheer grit and the fact that he found himself in a situation and shown.
Just look at the galaxy of leaders. Bhutan's King Jigme Wangchuk is there, Nepal's Foreign Affairs Minister P.K. Gyawal, the Sri Lankan Acting Foreign Minister Lakshman Kerala, Bangladeshi Foreign Minister Abdul Hassan Mahmood Ali, Pakistani Law Minister Ali Zafar. All these individuals, all of them, which just tells you, doesn't it tell you about, the phenomenal impact. We often try and talk about Atal Bihari Vajpayee's legacy and his imprint on domestic Indian politics, and what was the equation that he had with the BJP, with the RSS, Venkaiah Naidu, the Vice President now offering his prayers as well to Atal Bihari Vajpayee. But the galaxy of leaders from the entire Asian subcontinent who've all gathered here today to pay the last respects to Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I think Mr. Vajpayee's contribution in terms of establishing India's foreign policy is also something which is not often spoken about. And I think that India and the world maybe needs to acknowledge that in a much bigger manner, that Atal Bihari Vajpayee, whose first love was foreign policy, he indeed took several steps. We often talk about how Prime Minister Modi went to Nepal as the first port when he became the Prime Minister, how he has brought in a certain sense of pride on the national stage. But what about Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Shekhar? What's his contribution in establishing India very, very firmly on the global center stage?
Well, one would have to start with the Pokhran 2, which was a very, very difficult decision. And it need lot of political courage, because he had just taken over and it was the first major decision. And because our scientists needed to test the technology that they had developed and which would grow into be India's most powerful deterrent. And I can recall the words of Abdul Kalam, who was then the advisor to the government. He said, for 5,000 years, India did not have a deterrent. And we were continuously invaded. And here is this nuclear deterrence. And soon after that, we also announced no first-use policy.
But even on that, and even in terms of establishing the nuclear deterrent, there's another story. And it's a story which is now being spoken about with great elan. And in fact, I remember that in my earlier workplace, we'd reported on that story extensively as well, which is about P.V. Narasimha Rao and Atal Bihari Vajpayee. When Atal Bihari Vajpayee became the Prime Minister, he was, for the first time in 1996, he was given a small chit. The story goes that he was given a chit by someone who was very close to Narasimha Rao and was told, "Samagri sab taiyar hai, jo main nahi kar paaya, wo tum kar lena." Because all the groundwork for the nuclear explosion was done by the previous regime, and Atal Bihari Vajpayee never really shared that with anyone. And the first opportunity which he got in 1998, he went ahead.
No, but people did not notice in the BJP manifesto of 1998 election, it was very clearly mentioned that the party is committed to developing a deterrence for India, nuclear deterrence. It was there. So at the time when...
Well, we will keep bringing you the latest from Smriti Sthal. Time right now for a quick update on the flood-hit state of Kerala. The rains continue to wreak havoc in many parts of Kerala as the state faces its worst floods in almost a century. The death toll has risen to over 160 in the last 9 days. Flight operations remain suspended at the Cochin International Airport, while public transport has collapsed in many parts of the states. the state government has declared a red alert in all 14 districts of Kerala. Landslides and floods continue to be reported from Udupi, Kozhikode and Malappuram. Now, the Defence Ministry has rushed in fresh teams from all three wings of the armed forces for relief and rescue operations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also be visiting the flood-ravaged state later today. He will also undertake an aerial survey of the flood-ravaged area. CNN News 18's reporters who are in various parts of Kerala have brought us these ground reports.
This particular town is completely inundated. As you can see behind me, this place is completely flooded. This is the town called Pandalam in Pathanamthitta district. This has been inundated since yesterday. In fact, there is a river flowing just across, and that river has completely overflown and the water has come inside the town for several kilometers.
Kadakadu Devi Kshetrathinte vadakku Aarattu Kadavinadutte Kalikkalam veedinte adutha veetile oru 2 nila kettathinte topile innale innum aalugal kudi kadakku avada vellam illa. No
electricity, no water, people stuck in a 2-storied building where 40 people are living. Now, apparently police officials and some rescue people have just gone in, but they are still standing on the terrace waving for help. Although several thousands have been rescued, there are still many isolated parts in Pathanamthitta where the rescue and relief operations are yet to reach.
I'm standing at the Kerala-Tamil Nadu border, the route that passes towards Kollam district of Kerala. The movement along this route is also restricted at this point to just two-wheelers or autos. There were strong winds last night too that led to falling of several trees in the region, following which the vehicular movement is restricted. And considering the number of trees that are standing tall along these routes, the danger that could fall upon the passengers, the movement along this route is also restricted, thereby this region also being cut off from the rest of the country like other parts of Kerala.
Now, in a step to help those stranded in the state and provide a platform for donations, the Kerala state government has announced the Chief Minister's Distress Relief Fund. If you would like to contribute, donations can be made either by cheque or demand draft or internet booking at donation.cm-drf.kerala.gov.in. Helpline numbers have also been made available for the stranded. The numbers are on your screens at this point in time. Now, let's go back across to CNN News 18 for the latest updates from Smriti Sthal. Welcome back to After the Bell. On to the last street now, where bulls regained control after yesterday's consolidation and recouped losses. The Nifty ended at record level, aided by gains of almost 86 points. So you can see green on your screens after some time. Sensex rallied about 284 points, but ended shy of the 38,000 mark. Bank Nifty regained 28,000, but is still 200 points shy of record closing highs. Mid-caps rallied more than 1% in late trade. Today's gains pushed Nifty, Sensex and Bank Nifty into the positive territory for the week. Well, on to the CNBC TV18 global exclusive now. The Theresa May government has launched the largest IT contract by any country till date. The £3.2 billion contract aims to radically transform the country's railways network. And we understand that this is an end-to-end transformative IT contract that has been launched by the government, which will have many different parts to it. It may be split into 3 to 4 parts and given to different outsourcing players. And this will include the likes of infrastructure services, big data, analytics being clubbed into different smaller IT contracts. Now, the contract also assumes significance because the UK government has resorted to spending cuts for the last 8 years and is finally now willing to spend on discretionary spending and outsourcing. Now, what's also interesting here are the names of the IT players who are likely to throw their hat into the ring. We understand from our sources that the UK government has invited only one IT player to submit an RFP. Now, the UK government typically gives out contract by way of invitation to begin with. Then the bidding is, then the request for proposal rather is opened up to other IT players. And what we understand is that is likely to happen after a month. But the first IT player that is given that option is the preferred IT player, and amongst the likes of Capgemini, EMC and a couple of other global UK-based tech firms, TCS is the only IT company till date in this particular contract that has been given that option and been invited for an RFP. So that's what we are picking up from our sources. Big deal for the IT sector. But moving on to another exclusive, the National Anti-Profiteering Agency, tasked with ensuring that benefits of GST rate cuts are passed on to consumers, is examining complaints against online grocery delivery service Grofers, coffee house chain Starbucks and real estate developer Lodha Group. Timsy Jaipura, who has been tracking the story, is here with the details. Timsy, what are you picking up from your sources?
As government steps up the vigil against profiteering, the GST Anti-Profiteering Agency is examining complaints against Grofers, Starbucks and Lodha developers. According to sources, complaints that the agency has received accuse Grofers, Starbucks and Lodha developers of profiteering and not passing on the benefits of lower GST rates post-November 2017. The agency, however, is yet to send notices to Grofers, Starbucks and Lodha developers. But government officials told CNBC TV18 that initial rounds of investigations have started and complaints received are at the level of standing and steering committee. Meanwhile, when CNBC TV18 approached the three companies, Grofers in an email response to CNBC TV18 said, and I quote, "We haven't received any intimation from the authorities about the same. In any case, our promise of lowest prices to customers means we always pass along all possible benefits to our customers. We will be happy to engage with the authorities in case any clarification is required." On the other hand, Lodha Group shared that we have not been given any notice. When GST was implemented, for every development, we passed on the GST credit through a formal letter to our customers. So A, I am not aware, and B, if there is, we will, in due course of time, present the facts in front of the agency. Whereas Starbucks did not respond to an email query sent by CNBC TV18. Let's see what is the final decision that the agency takes when it comes to the charges raised in the complaints. We'll keep you posted on it.
All right, Timsy, we will be getting you back to give us updates on how exactly that case transpired. But for now, let's move on to another important story, and this is from the aviation space. First up, Jet Airways continues to drive its shed excess baggage plan to curb its inflated debt. CNBC TV18 learns that Jet Airways is in talks with TrueJet to sublease 7 of its ATR aircraft for a period of 5 years. TrueJet is looking to take these aircrafts on a wet lease, which essentially means that employees' maintenance and engineering will be provided by Jet Airways. Let's understand this further. Utkarsh Chaturvedi is here with the details. Utkarsh, put this into perspective. Jet continues its debt reduction drive. How exactly will this work in terms of bringing down costs for Jet Airways, and what's the larger strategy at play over here?
More than debt reduction, what will come to play in this exercise will be the regular cost reduction. Now, what we are picking up from our sources is that this deal is in the final stages. An announcement can come, say, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Now, what is the deal here is that 7 ATR aircraft will be subleased to TrueJet. That means that even Jet Airways has those aircraft on lease, but they will be subleasing that aircraft to TrueJet. But what is more important is that these 7 aircraft will go on a wet lease. Now, what is a wet lease? A wet lease is that the maintenance, the engineering and the ground handling, also the cabin crew and pilots will be provided by Jet itself, and that is a bigger opportunity. So more than debt reduction, what comes into play is one, that we had told you earlier as well, that 3 to 4 ATRs which were working on the loss-making routes for Jet Airways were grounded. So now they will be put to use and money will come from them. Also, speaking about paying salaries to employees, so given the fact that these are on wet lease, a lot of salaries from of the employees which will be working for TrueJet will come from the same. So this is one of the exercises which Jet Airways is really looking to do, but this is a beginning. If you look at the other exercises, what we are picking up is that the company is looking to sale and lease back its wide-bodied aircraft, even though this process will take some time because the aircrafts are a bit old. But this is one of the process. The process at least has kick-started. When we spoke to TrueJet and Jet Airways for response, TrueJet said that we are in talks with Jet Airways for wet leasing of aircraft. What Jet Airways told us is that we continue to evaluate all possible alternatives to ensure optimum utilization of its fleet, but owing to quiet period, we are unable to respond to further specific queries.
Well, that of course did bring some amount of relief to the Jet Airways stock, since the stock has been under pressure at the back of that debt reduction issue. But Utkarsh, thanks for putting that into perspective. The larger plan here is to cost cut, and that is on track for now. We will have to wrap up this edition of After the Bell on that note, though. Thank you so much for watching the show. Stay tuned, though. CNBC TV18 taking stock will take all the action forward. get ready for markets next week and understand what happened in the markets this week on the other side of this very short break.